immediately will come out and say, well, we don't even know who this guy was. This fellow worked for 6 months at the Central Intelligence Agency. Maybe he was swept floors or something like that. Okay, well, one of the agents that has come forward and has supplied an awful lot of really good information is a fellow named Robert Hunt. Now, he was, in fact, with the Office of Naval Intelligence and worked directly with Oliver North. Hunt came forward and talked about combinations of drug operations, a huge setup that was done called Operation Watchtower, where they utilized actually members of the military in several parts of the country, or excuse me, several parts of the world, to set up signal towers. These towers, for the ones that were set up in Latin America, were set up in a manner such that an aircraft flying narcotics up and coming into Panama, into Noriega's Panama, could fly in, shut off their lights, follow the beacons, fly below normal radar, follow the beacons that were set up by these towers along the way, and fly right on in and land into Noriega's Panama. At that time, he was strictly a high-ranking general. His business partners, according to agents have come forward, were George Bush and Michael Harari. Michael Harari was a Mossad assassin who, by the way, was the assassin for the Mossad that had spent some 10 years tracking down the murderers during the Olympics affair several years back, when the Israelis athletes were murdered by assassins. He slowly and progressively tracked every one of those down and saw to it that they were killed. Well, Michael Harari, interestingly enough, during the Panama invasion, had been put in jail by Noriega. So apparently they had a little bit of a row between themselves, and Noriega placed Harari in jail. George Bush saw to it that a small group of Delta Force special operations guys went in ahead of the Panama invasion and pulled Harari out of jail, put him on an Israeli craft, and flew him back to Israel to salvage him prior to going into Panama, where, by the way, our troops committed unbelievable atrocities under the direction of that invasion, which is on another interesting video that is available called The Panama Deception, and it completely shows where we even, our troops were even involved with mass murders and assassinations of men, women, and children, and regular civilian personnel or personalities in Panama. The Panama situation, of course, has been drug-connected for years and years and years, and it had been a stepping stone. Several of the islands have functioned as stepping stones. Now, what I want to show you first off, in terms of real physical documentation of drug connections into the highest level of our government. Several years ago, Colonel Bo Greitz, Lieutenant Colonel Bo Greitz, who was the highest decorated Green Beret in the history of America, had fought in the Vietnam War, and physically was, in fact, the character on which the Rambo movies were put together, actually utilizing many of his own personal experiences to create the stories of Rambo. And Bo Greitz was very much involved with attempting to retrieve the prisoners of war and the POWs and the MIAs, tracking them down and trying to bring them out. And as a matter of fact, I tell you what I'm going to do at this point in time. I'm going to let Bo Greitz explain to you exactly what took place as one of the most startling and graphic connections into the highest level of our government. I'm going to let this footage speak for itself.
I told Harvey, we didn't fight a war in Burma. Why should there be any prisoners of war there? But, you know, a guy like Kunsa has got connections all over. And I said, we'll try. I speak Chinese. Kunsa speaks Chinese. He's right on the southern China border. Surrounded by communists. He is fighting the communists.
Right.
He has 40,000-man army, about 8 million Shan people that make up the minority Shan state. Burma is communist. Every one of his weapons are M16s and M60 machine guns, all the latest stuff that we have. I found out why later. To make a long story short, we got in to see Kunsa. He didn't have any prisoners of war. And let me caveat it by saying this. We travel 3 days going and 3 days coming by horse over mountains that were literally vertical, up and down. I made the comment at that time to Scott Weekly, who was Ollie North's classmate in Annapolis and went with me. I said, I would hate to be an engineer that had to build a highway through these mountains because they're virgin teak forests, rainforests, tremendously beautiful. 6 days coming and going. Coonsaw didn't have any prisoners of war. We gave Coonsaw a letter from the White House that I had. That's the only thing that let me get in there. You don't walk in because the CIA has a 7-digit figure on Coonsaw's head, and they haven't been able to collect. You think they're going to let somebody like me in there saying, hi, I want to go visit Coonsaw? Doesn't work. But I guess they thought this guy's crazy enough because I gave this letter. I told Harvey, I said, we've got to have a credential, guy. He said, we can't do that, Bo. You know we never do that. And I said, Harvey, has anybody ever gone to the Golden Triangle and come back alive? I need something that will convince Coonsaw we're not there to kill him. We're there for humanitarian purposes. So Harvey said, well, this will be the language. You are operating in cooperation with the White House, et cetera, et cetera. It worked. Coonsaw didn't have one single prisoner of war, didn't know anything about prisoners of war. It was reported by a Mr. Arthur Suchek, an American citizen who is living in Orange County of the United States in the state of California, reported by Mr. Suchek to the U.S. government that you had one American prisoner of war under your control and that you would make him available for return to the U.S. on or about the 26th of October, which was last month. Is this true or not?
Suchek mà thô phao cho you and no. Para thì cô nè.
Mr. Suchek said is, it's not so true. Mr. Suchek really came here and asked me about POWs and mines. And as for that we are willing to help, but I didn't promise him that, or didn't tell him that we had one prisoner of war from the United States in our hands. In reality, I wish to help you and know that there are POWs in Laos and Vietnam, but in Cambodia and Vietnam it is very hard for us.
Do you think it's possible that you could control the movement of opium through the Golden Triangle? If everything happened that he has said, if he has support of the United States, if he, could he, with his power, his force, with all of the other people, Soviet Union, China, the Kuomintang Remnant, Burma Communist Party, Thai, the Drug Enforcement Administration, corrupt officials, could he, within his area of control, the Golden Triangle, could he stop it if he had the honest support of the United States?
For sứ American, mắc bắn tay hệ, chơi thèm bắn măng tay, trong mong sứ khảo hệ, này, cho mình chẳng qua lại phục giáp chính, mà